Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. We're going to discuss all the latest on the Dallas Cowboys on today's show. One of the things we'll discuss is some updates, information from ESPN on George Pickens. Do you think the Cowboys will end up using the franchise tag on Pickens? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. I already see Pizza Time, Daniel Bria, Mike Nintendo Master, William, Ecuador Man, Jacoby in there. Y for yes, N for no. The fun part about it being no is it could mean two different things. Either the Cowboys just don't use it all and they allow him to leave, or they pay him beforehand, which, given how the Cowboys operate, seems unlikely, even though, boy, wouldn't it be fun to have that happen? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comment section of today's show. Most people say yes. Handful of no's from John Jones. Not that one. We Dem Boys says no. Bria already says fire Matt Eberflus, which I get it. Pierre says yes. Steven says yes. Hayden, Ron, Daniel, ALW, Sam, Trevor, Iron Patriot, Ryan, and more, all typing in their Y's for yes. Keep the comments coming, Y or N. As we got a $10 super chat from William Cook, who says, what would a solid game look like for Overshown and Revel? It's a great question. And despite my jokes on social media that are very inappropriate, I do want to temper, and this is also me telling myself, expectations specifically for Overshown. I like what I've seen from Overshown a lot when he's been healthy. He's also off a really bad knee injury. Even and maybe this is me projecting my own inner thoughts on it. Brian Schottenheimer's press conference today kind of felt like he didn't want to overhype Overshown because internally he is also hyping him up because he looks good and they do want to give him a bunch of snaps. I do think there has to be some semblance, or at least there will likely be some semblance of a pitch count. So can I get a handful of splash plays from Overshown? Whether it's in coverage, run support, spying, blitzing, whatever, can that one end up happening? Phone Revel is even a bigger range of outcomes. Shotty says he's going to play. I don't know how much he's going to play. I doubt he's out there on early downs, period. Is he involved a little bit on third downs? I think for Revel, it's either make some plays. I know his dad said 2 targets we're going to pick, which would be great. Don't get beat, which has been a huge issue for your entire secondary all year long. Roman Wolf Gaming, why AJ Terrell over Will Lee in your mock draft? I am operating under the assumption that Avion Terrell is just a better regarded player than Will Lee is. Even though I do like Will Lee, I do wonder if he's going to be the same for everyone. But when in doubt, we can just check in on Dane Brugler's list. And he had Avion Terrell pretty high. And he didn't have Will Lee on there at all, who might maybe in the end ends up being a day 2-ish guy. Avion Terrell was 21 for him. And that was also me just not wanting to take a tackle in round 1, but we might do a mock draft this week. We'll see. This is the Super Chat menu on today's show. $5 Super Chat is a shout out, or any Super Chat is a shout out, just like the one we did for Roman Wolf Gaming. $5 is a raffle entry. $10 equals 3 raffle entries. $50 for a shot, and $100 for the beer bong. Very few beer bongs have come in during the regular live shows. We'll see if one comes in today. That is the Super Chat menu. The raffle, by the way, we are going to do DeMarvion Overshown signed jersey. I can only find 35 ones, which I would actually argue is a collector's item. It's even more valuable. I'd love to find a 0. Haven't found one that's like $1,000. Yep. Gatlin, a $5 Super Chat. Let me get you into the raffle as well. By the way, on the raffle, guaranteed we're going to do the 1v1 head-to-head. We're already at 400 plus entries before the game. So a lot of entries. As a Dallas, because I also did it from the trade deadline. A Dallas fan. Eagles suck. They will implode. Dallas win the division. Not biased at all. Promise, swear to all that is holy. I mean, they did do it once before, but you were in a slightly better spot when they kind of collapsed. The A.J. Brown stuff, I don't think is good for New York or for Philadelphia. You got to win your next 2 games before we can even have that conversation. Even then, we're talking the odds are 15%. You have to go on a borderline historic run for any franchise. Who we got in Thursday night football later tonight? J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. Get those predictions in for me right now on today's show. We will also bring on producer Aiden here, who is... Did you get the last Thursday night game right, or did you get that one wrong?
I think... What was the last Thursday? I'm blanking, man.
Honestly, once the bye week comes, I'm like all over it.
I know I was wrong on Monday. I took the Packers, hand up accountability, took the Packers, and I was not aware that Jair wasn't going to play, and now he stepped away from football. So I thought that was funny. I'm going to take the Patriots, I think, on this one. I don't think you got to think twice about it. Jets are terrible, one of the worst in the league. Drake May, in my opinion, looks like the MVP right now. I don't see a lot of other names that are competing. Him, Stafford, Mahomes is the popular, really easy pick, I guess. But I like May right now, and I think they're just going to keep on rolling.
I've been very impressed by him. His downfield success. He's been very selective. Has been awesome this year. Need him to not throw some stupid red zone picks. There's still a little bit of just I made the joke that Justin Herbert got just enough brain damage to be better. Just a little bit too much of that sometimes from Drake May. I think it's Patriots pretty easily. Better question is Patriots, it's 12.5, which is an absurd spread for a Thursday night game.
Might take it.
I think it's Patriots. The Jets, Aaron Glenn's going to do something stupid. He is trying so hard with the media to be Bill Parcells. It comes off as really forced and weird. Did you see his Garrett Wilson comments?
No.
So they opened up his press conference, and Rich Cimini, the Jets ESPN reporter, have been like, hey, Garrett Wilson has this injury, going to miss some time. And Glenn opens the press conference with no injury questions, ask Aaron, or ask Rich, he knows everything. Rich isn't even here, just ask him. Very dismissive of okay, he did his job, though. He got the injury report. Why are you upset about that? It was very weird. For a guy that has also had 2 chances to do Hail Marys he didn't have and hasn't called them. It's just been really bad clock management. And it kind of feels like he's in over his head right now. It's concerning for me.
The antics with announcing which quarterback is going to play as well. That I'm
okay with because you're just trying to play the game of deception, whatever. Even though the offense does not change, but it'll be Fields this week and Tyrod next week, guarantee it. J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Some more super chats we'll get to here in just a second as well. So stay tuned on that one. From Samuel, can't do 69. It won't let me. So when I get paid, I'll send 100. How pretty am I, Tom? I truly need to know. Here's what we will do. And the bosses have said it's fine. Samuel sends in a $100 super chat. We will do a mailbag where everyone gets to vote how pretty is Samuel on a scale of 1 to 10. So that is the deal. We will make that one happen. Even if it comes out on a live show, Samuel, I'll just put it on the next mailbag after that. It's obviously a 10, but sound off in the comments for everybody. Well, actually save it. Save it for the mailbag. Save it for the mailbag. Gatlin, so you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, yes. Even straight to the meme of you got a 4% chance. I think NY Times, they have it at 7. NFL's Next Gen Stats has it at 4, which is largely based on different projections for future games, etc. There's a chance, but let me pull it up right now. On just the NY Times playoff machine, which is, I think, a very fun tool to play around with and simulate stuff. Cowboys, as it sits right now, 7% chance to make the playoffs, most of which are the wild card, which is actually kind of concerning. Win the division right now is at less than 1% chance. 4% chance to win the division if they win their next 2 games. Make the playoffs, that does jump to 18-ish%. That's if they win their next 2 games. Honestly, what you almost need to do is win your next 2 because you can't lose to the Raiders and have a chance. Beat Philadelphia, we can have a conversation. Chiefs game is one that you want to win, but in terms of tiebreakers and scenarios, actually is probably one of your least impactful games. You actually probably need to focus on if you drop 2, for example, you almost need it to be the Chiefs and Chargers game. But even that's 50-50. Let's see what else happens. So Ecuador Man, $2 super chat says, what will it take to get a Mitch Tom crossover? Probably not during the watch party, just because we're both going to be super busy. We did have a brief one during the draft last year. I forget who it was. Someone got us to go slap Mitch. Very brief crossover on that one. Neither of us do, like, Mitch doesn't really do any more NFL stuff, frankly. Also worth mentioning, teaser, if we beat the Raiders report in Super Chats on Monday Night Football, Mitch said he will wear his Cowboys cheerleader outfit on a live show. So stay tuned for that one. That is not going to be an easy battle to win. Quite frankly, the Raiders report is reckless with its Super Chat spending. But if we do it, that's the deal. Roman Wolf Gaming. Turpin has dropped passes. Wide receiver you like in the draft. Look, if you want to spend a day 3 pick, cool, whatever. I don't know if you're really going to consider wide receiver that big of a need moving forward. George Pickens, I assume, will be franchise tagged, under contract. CeeDee Lamb, under contract. I have been disappointed by Turpin. He's under contract. Jonathan Mingo, under contract. Jalen Tolbert's going to be a free agent. Ryan Flanoy, who, as we'll get into, has kind of already surpassed Turpin as wide receiver 3, is under contract, and they'll bring back guys like Trayshawn Holden, Jalen Cropper, who are on the practice squad. They'll be back on futures deals. I don't really think the likelihood of an early round receiver pick makes much sense, even if you do want to deploy Turpin less, which I understand. Gatlin, I heard nothing but Cowboys and playoffs, and this is our year. Super Bowl inbound. Don't call it the copium. This is in reference to my response. So I appreciate it, Gatlin. You're having fun. Jai Games need to see serviceable reps from Overshown. That would be an upgrade over a lot of the reps that we have seen so far this season. Joshua Castillo just remembered Hard Knocks is there this season. They are there. It is the NFC East. I think drops in December. Honestly, I don't know how much insight we're actually going to get. Sometimes the NFL has been very much coy with how much they reveal. But I would almost argue the Cowboys angle might be the least intriguing this year. You've got the new coaching staff and Pickens and whatever. The Giants fired their head coach already. We're going to get all of that fallout. The A.J. Brown drama might be front and center in Philadelphia if that continues. And the Commanders are having a tanked out season, and they're banged up as all get out, and they took away the DC's play calling. It could be interesting. How much good insight we'll get, I don't know. I actually did not like the Cowboys' last Hard Knocks one. They didn't show anything. When the most important part of your season is the drone shot, what's the point? All right, Monday Night Football. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. I've missed my last 2 picks, but I do feel pretty confident this ends up being a Cowboys win. If they don't win this game, I will crash out. Someone said $5,000 if I don't swear, which I think it was $5,500. I don't know. I'm going to try not to swear on Monday Night Football, knowing that that's not going to come through. But I'll probably cuss anyway.
We'll see. It's gonna be a fun night for sure. I'm also gonna take the Cowboys in this one. I do think Max Crosby's gonna have something to say. The line's looking healthier and healthier for the Cowboys as weeks go on. But like Max Crosby is such a problem. He's gonna have something to say about this game. I think Genty. We'll see how this new and improved kind of front seven is going to be able to adjust against Ashton Genty. But as we see, personal bests for a lot of people when they go ahead and play against the Cowboys. So maybe that'll be something to watch out for. But I do think Geno is going to stay turnover prone as he has been all season. And I think you guys will be able to squeak that one out. Maybe even the best defensive week you've had. So.
That was my prediction on the last preview. Just like, I think you should allow like 17, 20 points, which would be your lowest of the season. Get your votes in. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. More super chats to come. Then we'll dive in to today's live show. So stay tuned for that one, my friends. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Someone also typed in F Chug, which I appreciate. From Max, $10. That's 3 entries into the raffle. We might hit 500 entries today. It wouldn't be surprising. I called it. Cowboys only make trades when the year is not going well. Would you be in favor of bringing back Quinn for DC if the Commanders fire him? I wouldn't be shocked if they brought him back if he gets fired. I don't think he's going to get fired, though. It's a down year. It's been a mess with the Commanders. I know. I don't even think Dan Snyder would have fired Dan Quinn after a down year in which they were a year removed from their best season in a very, very long time. So frustration, yeah. I wonder if like Cliff Kingsbury tries to go get a head coaching job this time around. We'll see. But I do think it is more likely that the Commanders give Dan Quinn a year or 2 years, even beyond after this, because they should be able to right the ship a little bit. From Gatlin, another $5 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Says, all jokes aside, if Dallas signs Pickens in the offseason, I'll be a happy fan and we get our defense bolstered up. Score prediction, Dallas 37, Raiders 20. They should win. If they don't win, there's a lot of conversations we're going to have, likely. We'll see how it plays out, honestly, but a lot of conversations on different players and coaches, because that'd be a pretty damn bad loss. Are you excited for the upcoming Cowboys game day? If you are, show it by liking today's video. Free, simple, easy to do. Help us out by liking today's show. Coming up on today's video, as I update my fan here real quick, which is essential. Got a little hot all of a sudden with the out of focus too, with the lights on me. A lot of Cowboys news and rumors, Pickens, Hooker, Lamb, etc. Some changes that I think are coming, hope are coming, player personnel deployment-wise, some of which have been done/confirmed already by Brian Schottenheimer. A mailbag. 2 ways to get in on the show. Hashtag Cowboys, like Bilal Alshawar, how do you pronounce that? Talk about the Rico Dowdle comp pick. Good question. We'll hopefully get into that one. Or at least a lot of them if there's a lot of super chats. Super thanks or super chat. Skip the line altogether. We will also have the updated depth charts for the Cowboys with all the different roster moves. I figure kind of a good time to run through those and where things currently sit. So all of that coming up here live on the Cowboys Report. Bit of a loaded Cowboys report this afternoon. A lot of ESPN tidbits on the future of George Pickens. I've seen it on social media, so I guess we'll discuss the weird Pickens versus Lamb stuff. Jaydon Blue, if he's going to play this week. Mike McCarthy, going to head to the New York Football Giants. And Malik Hooker, set to return potentially as soon as this week. We'll begin with Hooker after we tell you guys to subscribe to us here on the Cowboys Report. Weekly battle going on between us and Mitchell Renz over at the Raiders Report. They've kind of gained some ground as of late. Help us out. Hit that sub button right now. Malik Hooker is set to make his return to the Dallas Cowboys organization. The Cowboys are opening up his 21-day practice window. As a reminder, that means the Cowboys get 21 days for Hooker to practice before he has to be activated. It is a maximum, not a minimum window as he returns from that toe injury he suffered back in Week 4. The Cowboys have hinted that he might be able to play on Monday Night Football. We'll see if that happens or not. One thing that I'm going to monitor with some of the linebacker shuffling that's going on, you're going to have DeMarvion Overshown back, Logan Wilson back. If they do sit Kenneth Murray, who's the green dot play caller? And what ends up happening if it's not Kenneth Murray out there? Could Malik Hooker potentially be your green dot play caller, given Stephen Jones' comments about the communication and stuff there? That's kind of all speculation, but something that I did want to make note of and mention. The Cowboys need to get their safeties healthy. Hooker and Wilson were back at practice on Thursday. Elijah Clark is out, though. Wanye Thomas on the NFI list. Clark has been banged up. We'll see if he can even go. Marquise Bell has not been someone this coaching staff trusts. So the safety play has been bad. They have to get healthy. Let's go to George Pickens. ESPN dropping some insight into what they think will happen with George Pickens this offseason. If you've been subscribed to the Cowboys Report, you probably know where this is going to go. But Pickens was number 4 on ESPN's way too early 2026 free agent rankings, behind guys like, weirdly enough, Daniel Jones, go figure. But the general expectation, as we've discussed, and the Cowboys can afford to do, has been that they will at least tag Pickens. Here's what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN wrote. The Pickens experiment in Dallas has gone swimmingly. He's pacing for 1,400 plus yards, 10 TDs as the ideal counterpart to CeeDee Lamb. His immense talent and the number of teams starved for receiver help will drive his value. Multiple leagues exec believe the inconsistency will be a factor to consider in free agency, but Pickens' results with capable quarterback play are undeniable. He is already on the verge of surpassing his catches and yards totals last year with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has already passed his touchdown numbers. Barring injury, knock on wood, there is no reason to think it will not be the greatest year of CeeDee Lamb's career, or of George Pickens' career by a pretty significant margin. You don't let those guys hit free agency. Dan Graziano of ESPN says, I believe there is a strong likelihood that the Cowboys franchise Pickens, assuming their man is happy with him by the end of the year, as they've been so far. That's why it's tough to answer a question like this at this point of the season. Like, who's the top free agent? Many of the top potential free agents never hit the market because of extensions or because of franchise tags. So do you think the Cowboys will end up using the franchise tag on George Pickens? Y for yes, N for no. Go ahead and let me know in the comment section of today's show. It's the pinned comment, Y for yes, N for no. I think the minimum, worst case outcome is that the Cowboys franchise tag George Pickens. That's going to be roughly 28 and change, maybe 29, what the exact number comes in at, in terms of your cap hit in 2026. But at minimum, the Cowboys are going to use the franchise tag on George Pickens. They have been very happy on the field, off the field, with how George Pickens has played. You're not going to just let him leave because it's a champagne problem when, as we've discussed, you actually have plenty of money available to pay Pickens and still help your defense. It is not an either-or situation. Cowboys at minimum will franchise tag Pickens. Would it be nice if the Cowboys found a way to actually pay him before free agency and unlock even more salary cap space and dollars? Absolutely. Will I be disappointed if they, again, fail to do that? Also, absolutely. But I'd be pretty shocked unless something bad happens down the stretch here in which Pickens isn't back on the Cowboys in 2026. I don't think we have to freak out about that. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. Weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks to pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup, only on Prize Picks. Producer Aiden cooked up this one for Monday Night Football. Brock Bowers and Javonte Williams, more than receiving yards and rushing yards, respectively. You can also follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup your friend or a partner or someone whose picks you like to create. If you haven't already, go download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Let's also look at the other notable wide receiver in Dallas. That is CeeDee Lamb. Last 24-ish hours, there's been a lot of weird discussion, I'll call it, on Cowboys Twitter about CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens and having to choose, and Clarence Hill kind of saying that, well, the Cowboys offense has struggled since Lamb returned, which is the definition of correlation versus causation. Let me be clear, as it relates to the Cowboys offense and everything, short-term and long-term. You don't have to choose. This is not an either-or situation. And the offense, even though it has been a disappointment the last 2 games, isn't actually your big picture issue. That is very clearly the defensive side of the ball that is causing issues right now. CeeDee Lamb's numbers are down a bit this year. The injuries are a factor. I don't think we have to pretend to forget how good he was back in 2023 and 2022 and how good overall he has been as a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. You need George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb together. That was the whole point of doing that trade. I don't understand how we spent months complaining about the lack of a legitimate wide receiver 2, probably more than months, frankly, to help out CeeDee Lamb, to help out Dak Prescott. Then we get a not just receiver 2, a 1B, and we suddenly can't handle that and start going, well, you just have to move on from one of them or dump them. No. Keep them together. Let those 2 have success. Don't get rid of good players. Unless you have to for some reason, which is obviously not the case right now, it doesn't make any sense to me. Because if we are moving on from one of those guys, we're then immediately complaining about how bad the other receivers are compared to Pickens or Lamb. Stop it. Keep these two together. You have the funds. You have the draft picks to do other stuff. Just make it happen. It's not that hard. Let's not complicate things. Let's focus on the real issues. Red zone play calling, penalties, consistent run game, and of course, like almost everything on your defense. It's not that hard. So do you want to keep CeeDee and Pickens together in Dallas? 2 for together because it's 2. 1 if you want to separate them. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Jaydon Blue was benched, I guess last game, I should say, not last week. I am curious to see if Jaydon Blue plays this week. I think the Cowboys could always call someone up from the practice squad. They can bring back Malik Davis. Jaydon Blue, he got benched because of the fumble. We can call it what it was, setting the standard, whatever. He has not been as impactful as I think any of us would have liked to have seen. And part of that is the offensive line. He hasn't had that many carries, been a lot of just straight up inside runs, garbage time snaps that aren't very valuable there. One thing I would like to see from Jaydon Blue is to be more involved in the passing game. He was very good in that role at Texas. Some drops and fumbling issues overall. That's a concern. But he is explosive with the ball in his hands. He's able to do some real route running stuff. And the Cowboys' receiving game in the backfield has been terrible all year long. 1 catch, 5 yards for Jaydon Blue. Javonte Williams, and look, they're not high leverage moments, but when was the last time a running back screen did anything for Dallas? If they're going to call a screen in the backfield, which I'm hoping they spent some bye-week time trying to adjust that part of the game plan, maybe you let Jaydon Blue do it. Otherwise, continuing to give Javonte Williams targets at 2 to 3 every game, I just don't like that math. So will Jaydon Blue end up playing this week for the Dallas Cowboys? P for he's going to play, B for he's going to be on the bench. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. They want to spend a little bit of time on the report, or I guess not the report, the betting lines that indicate Mike McCarthy is the favorite to be the New York Giants' next head coach. I won't be upset if the Giants end up hiring Mike McCarthy. That doesn't really scare me that much. If they do, they probably finally snap the losing streak, whatever. I don't think he was that great of a coach. I don't think he was terrible. Feels like the Giants would kind of be capping their ceiling. I think his offense was a bit outdated. Who's he going to hire as his DC? I think the Giants could do worse. They could certainly do a lot better as well. I think it's worth monitoring. I think you're going to see Mike linked to a lot of jobs. And I think that's kind of going to be the placeholder until the coaching searches get going and then the real favorites end up emerging. You can go back and look at previous years. Very rarely does that early favorite end up winning the job unless there's a clear and obvious direct connection tie between the person in charge and the actual head coach. So I am not overly concerned about that one at all. One more note before we go here on today's show. The Cowboys have set up the Memorial Fund for Marshawn Kneeland. It's at MarshawnKneelandFund.org. I'll put that link in the comments section and the description of today's show. Several of you had asked about that, so I did want to mention it in a video. Cowboys have set that up in part because Kneeland's girlfriend is pregnant. They want to make sure that she and her unborn child are cared for, which is just as heartbreaking as it gets in general for this story. My suspicion would be the Cowboys are going to handle a lot of that, but I know there have been a lot of questions on that and did want to make note of it too. All right, who you got on Thursday night football? J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. J or P? My assumption is that the Cowboys are going to handle all that stuff for Kneeland. It'd be kind of weird if Jerry didn't do it, but part of it, the vibe of the comments from Schottenheimer was it was a lot of the players wanted to have a place to donate it to as well. So that was, I think that was the main point there. Ecuador man's got the fighting Justin Fields tonight. Hey, I'm off. I am no longer having to play Justin Fields in my guillotine league. I'm off it. I don't have to do it anymore. I got Mahomes. So I'm off that wild train. I won multiple games with him getting 3 points, 4 points. This is crazy. Glad to not have to deal with that anymore. I did lose a waiver bid in my guillotine league on the tiebreaker of waiver order. We had the same amount put in for Michael Pittman. We both bid $1. It's guillotine league, so they're all it's just every week there's 4 awesome players who are available. Guillotine is super fun. As long as get through like the first like 2 weeks, and then like the bad teams are very obvious, and then you just go from there. My team is strong. It's strong. We'll see how it plays out, but I feel good about them. Who we got? J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. I'm gonna have to explain to Jeremy's doing his every 500 likes, I'll make Davis Mills' neck longer. I'm gonna have to show him how to do it. It's not the easiest thing. Who you got? J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. I'm gonna message him back. So I will explain for live, and I will remind myself about this in 1 hour. There we go. Who you got? J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. Decent amount of Jets in there. I do like upsets. Upsets are fun. They're super fun when they happen. Not to your team, obviously. So, who you got? J or P? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. For you FanDuelers out there, Hunter Henry first time, first time, or not first time. The touchdown jackpot boost. So anytime TD for Hunter Henry. It's been tight ends all year long on Thursday Night Football. I'm all for it. All right. Get your votes in. J for the Jets, P for the Patriots. We'll go to our super chat menu. That is not the super chat menu in just a second here. Any supers a shout out. $5, you're into our raffle entry. $10 gets you 3 raffle entries. $50 for a shot, $100 for a beer bong. Any more of those come in, we'll probably hit them as part of the mailbag after this next segment, so stay tuned for that. Hit that super chat button, and we'll get into the next portion of today's show. Coming up on today's Cowboys Report, some more changes. Schottenheimer has confirmed there are going to be some. I've got 6-ish, I'm cheating, players who should play more, and 6 kind of cheating again, and it ends up being almost like 10 and 10. Who should play less? Because if you're playing someone more, you got to play somebody less. Do you want the Cowboys to be better after the bye week? If you do, show it by liking today's video, please, and thank you. Free, simple, easy to do. Like the video if you haven't already done so. So we'll go who you should play more and who you should play less of, and we'll reveal them at the same time. First up, Ryan Flanoy should play more, and the combination of Kevontae Turpin, Jalen Tolbert should play less. I will say, this one has pretty much already happened. It might not show it in like the touches perspective, but snap count-wise, Ryan Flanoy is the wide receiver 3 right now for the Dallas Cowboys. First week, I'm like, maybe it's just Turpin on a pitch count, coming back from the foot injury. Week 9, though, it was 2-1 combined. Flanoy played 45 snaps. Kevontae Turpin played 13. Jalen Tolbert played 7. Like, there is a very clear pecking order, not in the touches and target side of things, but in, like, who actually gets to be on the field. And I think Flanoy's athletic ability, being able to be deployed in, really, I think, slot and out wide, which Tolbert can do a little bit of, but he offers more juice. I think that is a key factor. And I think just reliability is a huge thing here, too. Look, Kevontae Turpin can't catch well enough. He's not consistent. Not that he can't catch, period. But stop jumping. That is a huge issue for Kevontae Turpin. He does it all the time. He jumps for passes he has no business jumping for so he can trap it against somebody. He's not a natural hands catcher. Jalen Tolbert has been better there. Ryan Flanoy doesn't have a drop yet this year per Pro Football Reference. Also worth mentioning, I don't even have Jonathan Mingo on here because he can't get active. At some point that will change, but I don't know if and when it happens this year. Probably at some point. But of these options, who would you rather be the wide receiver 3 behind? Obviously, Pickens and Lamb. RF for Ryan Flanoy, KT for Kevontae Turpin, JT for Jalen Tolbert, or JM for Jonathan Mingo. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. Forgot to mention we're doing 3-3 on offense and 3-3 on defense because that's nice and round. Brevin Spanford over Luke Schoonmaker. I've kind of felt this way for a while, and had Spanford not gotten hurt in camp, maybe we've already gotten to this point. I think it's time to ignore the draft position and just play the tight end who offers more upside in the running game and the passing game. Now, it has not shown up yet in the passing game because the one big catch Spanford had in garbage time, admittedly, got called back. But Schoonmaker has more drops than touchdowns over the course of his career, which you cannot have in football. That's really bad. And the thing that everyone liked about Schoonmaker was, he'll block for you. He doesn't block that great. This is PFF, so we can asterisk it if we want to. But Spanford is way better. He's also just bigger. He's like 6'7", 270. Like, he's a huge human being that gives you really good size at tight end, and I would rather see Spanford than Schoonmaker going forward. Now, this isn't quite the same hoodie. It's not quite one-to-one. It's a little bit different on that left sleeve. They got the Cowboys logo. I don't. It's not quite the same pattern behind the star. It's a little bit different. It's as close as I've seen to the hoodie that I wear and many of you guys have asked about. This hoodie and more are on sale at chatsports.com/Cowboys hoodies. Perfect, Christmas list item for yourself as the weather turns or to get a Cowboys fan in your life who you love. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. That's chatsports.com/Cowboys hoodies. And also the full zip versions. There's a ton of them that are on sale up to 40% off. Next up, this one also confirmed, Nathan Thomas and Terrence Steele. We have a battle here, folks, and this is concerning big picture, I suppose. The Cowboys bench Terrence Steele against the Cardinals. A battle is underway between Terrence Steele and Nathan Thomas at the right tackle position. Schottenheimer called it an open competition. I would be surprised if he meant anything other than Thomas and Steele, since that's what the switch was against the Cardinals, which I thought Steele getting benched against Cardinals was reasonable. He had a couple missed assignments in the passing game and the run game. There's been some frustration there in the past. They kind of did the plan, like one drive switch as well earlier this year. Thomas was good the first drive he was in. That final drive and a half, he was bad. He got beat a lot. And that was also a weird spot for both parties. Terrence Steele was battling migraines. Nathan Thomas was coming in off of a surprise insert in the lineup. It's tricky there. Over the course of the season, I am unconvinced that Nathan Thomas has been the better tackle so far. I don't know if that's true based on what we've seen on the film, but it might just be time to find out one way or the other. Terrence Steele's ceiling certainly seems like we know what it is. He hasn't hit it enough recently. We don't really know what Nathan Thomas is. So it could be worse. It could be better. I do think Schottenheimer treating this as the open competition approach is the right one so far. And we'll see how it plays out. So I assume Thomas is going to be a popular answer here. Name a player who you want to play more. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Drop it for me in the comments of today's video. I really cheated on the defensive side. It's multiple across the board. Number one is your new linebackers against the old regime. I want to see what type of boost the Dallas Cowboys get with Logan Wilson out there and with DeMarvion Overshown. That is what I want to see. I am whatever about how the rest of it plays out in terms of this linebacker room. Like, I would assume Maris Leofau ends up being involved in that still strong side linebacker role, which hasn't done a ton of so far. Like, not that much base, could do more 5-man fronts and do more 2 linebacker stuff. Kenneth Murray will probably still play a little bit along with Wilson without. I want to see what the snap count, this breakdown, everything else looks like, because I don't know how it's going to play out. I want to see Logan Wilson out there. I don't think he was great this year for the Bengals. I think they got bigger issues than him at linebacker. Frankly, I thought he was outplaying the other guys on that team. I really want to see DeMarvion Overshown. I think he is an extremely talented player. I don't want to get my hopes out of whack, but I need him to make an impact. I wouldn't be surprised if a less is more approach gets deployed with Shamar James. There are times he just I think is going a little bit too fast trying to make the play and doesn't read it right, and I think kind of gets info overload at times. Maybe fewer snaps, more defined role of just you get 20 snaps, whatever, helps him. I would not be upset if Kenneth Murray's off my screen forever. I would not be upset by that. Will it happen this week? I honestly don't know what that linebacker deployment will look like. I think there's a real chance we see all 4 guys and Leofau, and Clark ends up being a healthy scratch again. But I am extremely curious to see what it looks like, and I hope it leans more towards the Wilson Overshown version if those guys look good. Cowboys Report is free. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out on anything here on the channel. YouTube.com/Cowboys TV. Some players to start and some players to sit. On the cornerback side, the secondary in general is just so incredibly messy. I'm going to go with Savone, Revel, Kalen Carson. Let's play them. And maybe less Kyer Elam, Trikwizz Bridges. Now, the Cowboys already overdue. Kind of began the Kalen Carson in, Trikwizz Bridges out swap last time we saw them play against the Cardinals. That was they're just picking on DaRon Bland game nonstop. Carson really wasn't involved much on the field, but snap count-wise, a clear change. Kyer Elam played 41. Kalen Carson played 28. Reddy Stewart, in part getting some run at safety, had 26. Bridges had 7. Look, Bridges is not an NFL starting cornerback. And I don't know if he's ever going to be. Just kind of how it goes. He's just not good enough. And Kyer Elam hasn't been very good either. He's been picked on a lot. Even outside of the red zone, it has not been impressive. I want to see what the youth has. What can Kalen Carson do? He fits some of that zone stuff better for Matt Eberflus as well. He's young. The ceiling, because of the unknown of the ceiling, seems higher. Not to mention, I don't know how involved Savone Revel will end up being for this Dallas Cowboys team, but I do want to see him out there. Schottenheimer has praised him. The coaching staff has praised him. They probably aren't going to overload him, but hey, wouldn't it be cool if like Kalen Carson, Savone Revel, and DaRon Bland can make it work? Or at least on passing downs. Maybe like on rundowns, they keep Reddy Stewart in the nickel where he's been a pretty good run support player and don't put Revel out there and run defense. That wouldn't shock me on early downs, but like being nice if you could feel good by the end of the year about these younger corners. So a minimum, you have to bench one of these guys, and we'll leave Reddy Stewart out of it just for like outside corner focus here. Who you bench it? SR for Savone Revel, CC for Kalen Carson, KE for Kyer Elam. Final player to start and who to sit, Dante Fowler and James Houston compared to Sam Williams. Look, the reason why this has been happening is run defense stuff. And the snap counts are kind of jarring. The Cowboys have a clear-cut top 2. It's Ezraku and Clowney. And they actually played Ezraku a lot because he's been a lot better as a run support player than I thought he might be. I was concerned about, would it translate from Boston College being smaller? No issues so far. Sam Williams, I don't want to see him be my third defensive end anymore. I can't. I understand that the Cowboys do not like playing Dante Fowler and James Houston in run support situations. They're lighter players. They're not designed to hold up as edge setters. But that only works in the event that the other guys are doing their jobs. And frankly, 54 is not. Again, run defense stats per PFF. Sam Williams, about the same amount of snaps as Dante Fowler and James Houston combined. The run defense grades are startling. It's 39 for Sam Williams. He's been a huge liability. He never plays gap sound football. He's not consistently enough does he play gap sound football. Dante Fowler, James Houston, they'll only throw their shoulders around. Put him out there. I think in the end, it's going to be a lot of Easy, a lot of Clowney. How the other members of that defensive end rotation, do they do some linebacker overhang stuff when they do some of that 3-down line looks with Quinn Williams and Kenny Clark and Oso Odigizua? I think is really intriguing to see how it plays out. The fun part is, mid-season, kind of getting a look at a revamped defense, which you don't normally get for the Dallas Cowboys. Mailbag time on the show. 2 ways to get in on the show. Use hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line all together via Super Chat. Let's hit Suleiman and James real quick on these Super Chats, since those aren't technically mailbag ones. The other one from Good Trap we'll get to as part of the mailbag here. Suleiman says, you doing a duck race? Not today. We will do a duck race Monday night. I want to keep it on that when people are truly locked in. And if I'd run the duck race today, I think people wouldn't realize it. So we'll do a duck race for raffles and stuff and more on Monday Night Football. James just had a $5 super chat. I appreciate you, James. I'll do my best to keep an eye out in the comments for if something comes through for mailbag related, but appreciate that, my friend. The super chat menu on today's show. Any super chat is a shout out. $5 is a raffle entry. $10 is 3 raffle entries. $50 is a shot, and $100 is a beer bong. Let me know in the comments section of today's show if you want in on the mailbag by super chatting or skipping the line altogether. That's hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether via super chat. Let me double check one thing here before we get into the mailbag. But get your questions in. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether on today's show. Correct. So we're not doing it. Correct. Get your votes in. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether. Let me double check this. Yeah. Okay. Hashtag Cowboys. Skip the line altogether on today's show. Several super thanks we'll get to here as well. I wanted to fact check one thing from a super chat we're going to get to here, so I want to make sure I was right on that front. $5 from Joshua. Once we're eliminated from playoff contention, wouldn't it be wise to protect our star players from injury next year, like Dak and CeeDee and Quinn, and so we have in young players? So, good question, and kind of a multi-part answer here. Once you are fully eliminated, yeah, you can have that. You can have that conversation. The answer will be yes for some, and like guys who aren't going to be here next year, like yeah, let's not bother playing them anymore. I will say, unlike last year. Like, it does make some sense to not sit everybody because you don't want to run into an issue where you're kind of building a culture of losing. Like, I don't think you can flip that switch necessarily. I do think you have to kind of instill it. Same way the Lions did with Dan Campbell. They never quit. I don't know if you want to quit right now. It's different if you're going to fire the head coach, but your head coach is going to be back next year. So I don't want to just, like, lose every single game, because that like makes me worried about trying to go for it, which what they're trying to do in 2026. Focus should be on 2026. You know, if you get to week 18 and you're out of it, like, yeah, to answer your question, who would you protect? Who would you like to see up the remainder of the year? Like, if you're in, let's just say you're limited week 17, whatever, hypothetically. Yeah, sit Dak, sit Lamb. Like, you can play a bunch of Jaydon Blue. Give Joe Milton some playing time. Like, you know, if Terrence Steele has, at that point, like, you should sit Terrence Steele and see what Nathan Thomas can do. You know, you could probably play like a Booker, for example, to give him more experience. Like, play as Araku. Like, if Overton's healthy, play him. Probably not going to play Kenneth Murray. Probably not Logan Wilson. Like, the safeties might be all young guys. So it's a really good question, and I think it just depends on how we get there. So do you want entered into our weekly raffles? We are doing signed DeMarvion Overshown to celebrate his return. It's going to be number 35 because I can't find a signed 0 yet. And I'm not sure why, but I've only found 35, so it's the collector's edition. $5 gets you into that raffle on Monday night. William Cook, a $5 super thanks. Always, I am concerned this defense will make Smith and Gentle look like all pros. Hope adding Williams, Wilson, and Overshown will be the sparks the defense needs to greatly improve. I would even be willing to compromise it not greatly. Can you just get to like bottom 10 instead of bottom 2 or bottom 3? That would be a significant boost. Now, and I know there's been the narrative going on, like, you know, oh, you can't win a game unless you don't score at least 20 points, because, like, almost nobody wins a game when you don't score 20 points. But when was last time the defense won you a game? I think it was the Saints game, 2018, I think it was, that Alvin Kamara gets shut down by Jordan Lewis game. That was, like, the last game I feel like it happened. Not the defense has been good, but the offense is normally good along with it. The defense has to be better, period. Ryan, should I sit or start the Cowboys defense against the Raiders? A rare fantasy question. Look, I think you are justified in doing it. The matchup is favorable. They actually had a good fantasy matchup against the Cardinals because they had a bunch of sacks. Gino takes sacks, those interceptions. Not by choice. I am also playing the Cowboys defense in fantasy this week. I'm not confident in it, but if it's ever going to happen, this is the week. So what is your confidence level in the Dallas Cowboys defense? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Good trap. Opinion on Antonio Pierce as our next defensive coordinator. Honestly, I'm not super interested. He had like a half year, I think. Or didn't even get to the half year. I don't even know if he got I don't know if he got to call the plays that year because he was the co-DC at Arizona State in 2020. I don't think he was the play caller that year. He was the defensive coordinator in 2021, and he did call the plays in 2021. Excuse me, he did call the plays in 2021. That's all he's ever called plays defensively. He's only been a linebackers coach and a head coach. And I actually do question a lot of his leadership stuff. It wasn't good in Las Vegas. It was a mess. He had a lot of issues at Arizona State following the rules. He's unemployed right now. Linebackers coach, I have interest. I do worry if hiring someone who essentially hasn't done the job ever, but especially at the NFL level, I don't love that idea. YouTube J, still mad we took Luke over Darnell Washington. Off topic, I picked up Rashee Rice and Breece Hall off waivers. Is that a steal? I question what league you are in that those guys are available on waivers. Unless it's a guillotine league, in which case, different conversation. Yes, that's a steal, and I question is this a 6-man league? What's going on here? In hindsight, they flunked Washington medically. It's fine. Do you know, and this is back from my personal draft rankings, do you know the tight end that was on the board who didn't have medical red flags like Darnell did, that I had above Luke Schoonmaker? Tucker Kraft. How different would it have been if you'd just taken Kraft over Schoonmaker? We'll never know. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. Well, it might be changing, and boy, has it. But the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. It is the only app that offers stacks. Pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You can pick more than on maybe Geno Smith passing yards and passing TDs, or just go with Brock Bowers receiving yards, Devontae Williams rushing yards like producer Aiden has cooked up. Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Jai Games, 5-man front with Osa, Clark, Winfrey, Solomon Thomas, and Quinnen Williams. Not necessarily in that order. I like goal line, short yardage, sure. 5 defensive linemen, yes. I do think you'll see some 5-man front stuff. I think it'll look more like this with the DT positioning up for debate. Osa will be on the outside more as a 5-tech defensive end. Think the Cam Hayward style, where he's a DT, but he's lined up over the tackle guard more or less. Quinn and Kenny Clark can both do 3-tech, 1-technique stuff there. Ezra Rocco and they've done this. They did this exact personnel usage against the Cardinals. In fact, they've done it this 5-man front stuff, 3rd highest rate in the NFL. They do a lot of it. Now, most of it came against the Cardinals, in part because the Cardinals deploy a lot of extra offensive lineman stuff, so they're matching personnel properly. But 1st and 10, unless they're in 11 personnel, even if they are in 11, maybe they do just 5-man front nickel looks. I expect to see some 5-man front stuff. Otherwise, I think it'd be a little bit weird. Juan Ramos, who is the best free agent player the Cowboys should consider signing in 2026 as a free agent? I'll pull up the ESPN top free agent rankings here. Guys that I think will actually be available. I do wonder what Braden Smith is going to look like. Does he get to the open market in Indy? As a right tackle stopgap option, that actually does intrigue me. Beyond that, guys who will actually be available, I doubt they're going to spend the budget for Jalen Phillips or probably not a Quay Walker. I'm just going to kind of get my hopes up. Maybe you just go do Khalil Mack 1-year rental. Maybe you do that. Or maybe you just go with Quincy Williams and pair him up with his brother and he takes the 1-year, $5 million deal. I don't think that would be terribly surprising. I doubt Devin Lloyd is in the self-imposed price range for the Cowboys, but those are some names to consider. From Brandon Aubrey-Matic, which it's actually a good. Why didn't we ever think of that nickname for him? That's a good one. Would you sign Justin Simmons? Sure. Other name to mention. This reminds me. Jaquan Brisker. Bears Now, the issue there is he and Matt Eberflus did not get along at the end, so might not be an option, but I would throw that out there as a name because everyone loves safeties. Anyway, I think it's weird that Justin Simmons is unsigned into mid-November. And we're at the point where, like, I don't get it, and my assumption there is there's something we don't know about. Whether it's contract demand, how NFL teams value him, medical, whatever. Like, I'm at the point where I go, okay, I think something's wrong with Justin Simmons. And that is why he is unsigned. You know, whether or not that's the case or not, I don't know. But we're so far into it, I go, there's something I don't know about. Because it does not make sense to me at all. So would you sign Justin Simmons anyway? I'm not opposed to it. I would have signed him months ago. Y for yes, N for no. From CGW, what position do you think is the biggest need before the draft? The big ones, I think, are going to be on your defensive side of the ball, assuming you keep Pickens and Williams in the fold in some capacity. Otherwise, receiver, running back, jump up there. Tackle might be a need. We'll see how that one plays out. The big ones for me are, not in this order, maybe linebacker. Let's see how Wilson overshown fair, but you're probably going to need at least one more. Wouldn't mind a veteran. Corner could be in the cards. Let's see how your young guys play out there. Safety's probably going to be, at minimum, Donovan Wilson probably won't be back, but you guys know how the Cowboys feel about safeties. I think edge is probably going to be your biggest need, actually. The players who are under contract for next season at the defensive end spot. Now, this will change. You can keep guys, bring them back. The list of players who are under contract next year are as follows. Donovan Ezeraku, James Houston. That's it. Dante Fowler's a free agent. Clowney's a free agent. Sam Williams is a free agent. Now, practice squad-wise, you can do Isaiah Land futures deal. You need multiple defensive ends going into the offseason. So when we do our needs list, edge will be extremely high. Not only depth, because they're all free agents, I think you need a dude. One more dude, which you might be able to get in round one, but we'll see. If you guys want more daily doses of the Dallas Cowboys, hit that sub button. Multiple videos each and every single day right here on the channel. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube J, boy, it's a tough one. Let me make sure I get him in the Raffle entry tier too. Rank the 2026 draft class by position, knowing it's not even done yet. Not very far into it, obviously. Spots that stand out. Linebacker looks really good this year. I do think there is good safety depth. I think edge offers quite a bit of promise. I think receiver looks pretty good. The not top-tier tackle options have some value. I don't love the defensive tackle class early, but there are some good run-stopping defensive tackles actually kind of stand out to me. Corner looks okay. Running backs kind of thin, especially beyond the Notre Dame kids, both Love and Price. I don't love the quarterback class. I think a lot of them are going to go back to school. In general, it's kind of thin. And in part because if you just want to use, Dane's list, which I think is a great way to do it this time of the year, the highest rated senior is David Bailey, who I like, out of Texas Tech at 14. Then it becomes Mansour Delane, who I love. Dallas probably won't at 19. And then Sonny Styles at 26. Of the top 30 players for Dane, there are 3 seniors. That's kind of rare. Normally there's more. So you need a lot of guys to go pro, or else this class might not be that good. From Tomb Raiders, are you worried about losing Clayton Adams and is Brian Daboll an option on our staff? I don't see where Brian Daboll would kind of enter the conversation. He's not going to call the plays with Brian Schottenheimer here. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of it. He's been tight ends coach, quarterback coach in the past. You're kind of covered at those spots, frankly. I also think he might look for a more high-profile job. I also just he's a little bit toxic. You can go back and read some of those pieces, but he did not get along with members of that coaching staff. That led to the divorce between him and Wink Martindale. He gets angry too much. That's an issue. It's an issue. As for Clayton Adams, I would be pretty surprised. Not because I don't like Adams or anything, but the track record of offensive line coaches who become coordinators who get hired and after not calling the plays, but like that history just like doesn't really exist. Mike Mularkey, let me pull up his history here. That's what I'm thinking of like most recently. Obviously, Bill Callahan did it. Bill Callahan called plays before. Mike Mularkey was a coordinator for a couple years with the Falcons. I believe he was calling the plays back then for the Falcons back in that 2008 campaign. I'll double check that right now and make sure I'm not spreading falsehoods. But like the non-play calling OC who isn't like a play caller and like doesn't have a quarterback background in the case of like Brian Callahan, like those guys don't get hired. So I am not worried about it. If it happens, so be it. Also, Mularkey did call the plays. I don't think that he's going to be the same well-regardedness. Like he's been on some lists of up-and-coming coaches, but that's a far cry from we're hiring a one-year OC who's never called plays before. That doesn't happen very often. So what is the percent chance the Giants hire Clayton Adams? Let me know in the comments section of today's show. I think it's low. Go ahead and sound off for me in the comments of today's video. Last one here from Bilal. Will the Cowboys be able to get a comp pick for letting Rico Dowdle go with how he's doing in Carolina? This has been a somewhat recent change as it relates to the comp pick projections. I use over the cap, and they changed it like after I'd actually made the comment. Like I think it needs to be updated. As of right now, yes. Cowboys are projected to get a comp pick from Rico Dowdle. If he continues to play the way he has, he's going to hit some incentives. That's going to raise the floor on the money. It'll essentially even out with Javonte Williams. That matters because the current projection would be 2 fifth-round picks. If they don't get the pick for Rico Dowdle, which, again, it's on the edge. They got a couple seventh-rounders. It could go either way here. If they don't get the comp pick for Rico, the fifth-round pick gets canceled out. So you do really want Rico to keep playing well in Carolina, keep putting up numbers, so you get 2 fifth-round comp picks. That does matter. We'll see how it plays out. Nothing set in stone. It's going to come down to the wire from a snap count perspective, but I do think the Cowboys are in line to have that happen. So keep an eye on it for sure. We got to YouTube J earlier. Let's go to, I think, Bray. And this is not part of the mailbag, so we're fine. Can we put Brian Dable at right tackle? It's funny. He seems short-armed, though, doesn't he? Doesn't he feel short-armed? I don't know what Brian Dable's arm length is, but I feel like he's got undersized center written all over him, right? It's funny, though. I appreciate that. He's got the feistiness. Pedro Sandoval, a $5 super chat. I'm going to put that in the entries here. Again, these are not part of the mailbag, so we're fine. I know everyone says they're going to blow up the Raiders, but they're going to put up a fight. What do you think can happen in that game? Well, yeah, but we have a preview on the channel for you, Pedro. Check it out. We'll have another one on Monday morning. I think you should win. I am never going to assume a blowout with this team. I have been burned too many times in recent weeks thinking that they're going to win no matter what, and it just does not happen. So we will see. I think that they should win. I don't know if they will win, but I think that should be the outcome, that they end up winning that game. So we'll see. Super chat menu, by the way, $5. You are into our raffle entry. Any super chat is a shout out. $10 equals 3 raffle entries, $50 for a shot, and $100 for a beer bong. No surprise, by the way, for Thursday Night Football. They'd already ruled out Garrett Wilson. He is going on IR now. So brutal on that front. Who you got in Cowboys game? Kind of ties into Pedro's super chat too. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me see. Make sure I'm not missing anything. I know that Cowboys injury report should drop soon. I do think by the way, I think it's a calf for Solomon Thomas of note. I do think it's a calf. So Make note of that. Safe for the Cowboys are for the Raiders. Get any other questions you've got in via Super Chat to the final segment of today's show. Coming up on today's show, we will have an updated look at the Dallas Cowboys depth charts. And I wanted to do this today because, there were a lot of moves that have been made by the Cowboys organization. Roster moves, injuries, guys coming back from injuries, trade deadline stuff. This is different than whatever the official depth chart the Cowboys will put out there. And that's because I think it's better. I mean, the Cowboys depth chart have been listing not Ezeraku and Clowney as starters all year long when they've clearly been the starters. So, before we dive into that, I do want you to help us out by sharing today's video. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. I think it helps inform people, so I appreciate that. Help us out by sharing today's show. That's whatever social media platform you are on. No change quarterback-wise. I don't spend too much time on it. Dak Prescott, Joe Milton. Will Greer's in the practice squad. Not going to come up unless something bad happens injury-wise. You need better play from Dak Prescott, too. He has to be a huge part of this defense or this offense moving forward. I don't know how much it was really his fault, but I do think better play out of Dak, out of this passing game is critical. And that's because you don't have the margin for error on defense. We spent some on our preview talking about it. You can't afford to go 3 of 7 in the red zone because your defense can't get stops consistently. It's not fair. You almost have to be perfect on offense. Hopefully the changes means that'll be better going forward. Running back-wise, it is still the Javonte Williams show. Hunter Lipke gets involved in some pass protection stuff, etc. Jaydon Blue, we'll see how much run he gets after the fumbling issue reared its ugly head. It's the Javonte Williams show at the running back spot. This is his game. He gets the workload numbers. You hope he stays healthy, otherwise you are in really bad shape in the backfield. But Javonte he's been very good this year. He has been a lot better than what I thought he was going to be, and I hope that continues moving forward. Wide receivers, you obviously have the stud duo in CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Of late, it really has been Ryan Flanoy who's kind of emerged as the wide receiver 3. Turpin has taken a back seat. Tolbert's taken a back seat. Mingo can't get on the field. I am fully expecting the best version of CeeDee Lamb post-bye week. I think he and Pickens will both have their moments, have their games, have their roles. You're probably not going to have the 200-yard games. Maybe you could have, force-fed like the one Jamar Chase Flock, but maybe you're not throwing it 50 times, Both these guys have had production this year. I am curious what the role for Kevontae Turpin looks like. I think Schottenheimer was a pretty big factor in getting him the ball under Mike McCarthy. He has not been nearly as good this year. The drops continue to be an issue that cannot keep on being the case. It's not very good. But I do need more from Turpin. And Flanoy's going to have a higher snap count, probably a lower touch roll. That's my expectation for those guys. And I get that, Turpin was nursing the foot injury. He's played multiple games in a row. He's fine at this point. But Flanoy is going to be out there a lot because he can block and do inside and outside stuff the same way that Turpin cannot. So coming out of the bye week, and I want honest answers here. How do you feel about the Cowboys? So it's also post-trade deadline. B for better, S for same, W for you feel worse. Let me know in the comments of today's show. The tight end room, still Jake Ferguson, Schoonmaker, Spanford, as we've discussed previously. I think it'd be pretty cool if the Cowboys played Spanford over Schoonmaker. The one thing I need right now from Jake Ferguson, make guys miss. I don't want you being captain check down. You got 56 catches this year. Hey, man, 7 yards per catch is actually not very good. You don't have to double it. We should be getting to 10. And that's going to come with him making more guys miss. There was a point earlier in his career, before last year, frankly, no tight ends were making guys miss as much as Jake Ferguson. It was him and Tucker Kraft, frankly. Has not been the case this year. The yak looks fine because of volume and some screens, but the forced missed tackles have to be better. Offensive line. The left side's not changing right now. Guyton, Smith, Beebe, Booker. The right side might be changing. And, you got solid depth led by Hoffman and TJ Bass. Terrence Steele, it's just the breakout or the bounce back hasn't really come. And even the last couple of weeks, the run blocking hasn't been as good, which is a huge issue for me because I can live if you're going to be an average at best pass protector or even a bit below average and a great run blocker. But if you're being clearly below average pass protection and average at best run blocker, I don't know what we're doing out there. Now, it sounds like open battle at right tackle. I interpret that as Nate Thomas versus Terrence Steele. You could try to flip Guyton around, but honestly, every single issue that Tyler Guyton has is the case at left tackle. It's the same technique stuff, left tackle, right tackle. It's not going to change anything. Let's see if Nathan Thomas can do something. So I wouldn't even be that shocked if they rotate a little bit against the Arizona Cardinals. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. The hard-hitting football action is even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. Keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. It's the only app to offer stacks. Pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more than on Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, TDs, or George Pickens more than receiving yards, touchdowns? You can do it on Prize Picks. Producer Aiden's Monday Night Football Power Play, 2 picks. Got to get them both right. Brock Bowers, more than receiving yards. Javonte Williams, more than rushing yards. You can also, by the way, follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app in the new Feed tab on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Defensive end-wise, it's been a lot of Ezeraku and a lot of Clowney, and I think that's going to continue as we move forward. He has been consistently disruptive, Ezeraku has. The underlying numbers have pointed to the breakout's going to come, the sacks will come, and we've kind of seen that as of late. The last, overall this season, 6 TFLs, 2 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, 12.7% pressure rate. The last 5 games, by the way, 12 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and a 16.4% pressure rate, that is up there with pretty much anyone you'd want to have from a pass rush perspective. Micah Parsons has 16.6 this year. Like, he is getting pressures. I am incredibly excited about Ezeraku, and I think the new addition up front is going to help him. I think Quinnen Williams is going to elevate Ezeraku and hopefully Clowney, but also Osa Odigizua. I think that this defensive line room overhauled from what it was a year ago. So much better across the board. You shedded the Mozzie Smith, frankly, contract at that point. I am excited to see Quinnen Williams in this defense. He's back with Aaron White-Cotton. That best year, 2022, was with Aaron White-Cotton. He's going to elevate your run game. He's going to actually command attention in a way that nobody else on this Cowboys defense was doing, something you desperately needed. It should benefit Osa. His pressure rate's still pretty high for a defensive tackle. Pressures remain high. It's actually among the team leaders so far this year. It's a slight indictment, I suppose, that your top 2 pressure getters have been Kenny Clark and Osa Odigizua this year. I think Osa's going to have a big time step forward. You saw it against the Cardinals. He was very good in that game, maybe his best game of the year. I think that continues. And I do think we will continue to see some of those 5-man front looks. You know, where the DTs line up, we'll see. It's probably Osa as like the 5 technique, so to speak, of like think the Cam Hayward role. You can, rotate down a linebacker instead of an edge at times if you want to, whether that's Leafau or maybe Overshown if you want to get creative with there. But I do think the front offers a lot of upside that wasn't there 2 months ago. Are you excited to see this new Dallas Cowboys front against the Raiders? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Linebacker-wise, DeMarvion Overshown, I want to see him get a bunch of run at the weak side linebacker spot. He might be on a pitch count. Sure, we'll still see Samar James on passing downs. I want to see Logan Wilson over Kenneth Murray. I'm curious if someone else does some of that Sam linebacker stuff. It could be like Overshown at moments, and then you have Murray and Wilson out there or something. But I want to give I want to make Overshown my focal point in the linebacking core. That might not come in the first game back. It might come in like the 5th game back, and they be patient with him. That's fine. I need him to make an impact because I kind of don't want to see any more Kenneth Murray on my screen. Cornerback is so confusing. Deron Bland is cornerback 1. They've obviously brought back Savone Rivel from that NFI list. Kaiir Elam has been in and out of the lineup. Reddy Stewart, Triquez Bridges, Kalen Carson. They haven't really settled on what this cornerback room is going to look like throughout the season. It can now kind of begin to come into picture. Bland can play inside. Bland can play outside. I still think at times, I think the ideal outcome with like who's on your roster is probably still Deron Bland at nickel so that I can play 2 of Kalen Carson and Savone Rivel and maybe Kyron if he ends up bouncing back. I don't think that's going to happen with Elam. He's a man cover corner, and Eberflus wants to run zone, and it hasn't worked well. I am excited to see Savone Rivel. I don't know how much of a pitch count he'll be on, but I do want him to be actively involved when he is good to go. I don't want to rush him back. I assume they have not, since he's had plenty of time. Might be a pitch count first game back. I just want to see what he can do because he's so talented. We will be live again for Cowboys against the Raiders on Monday Night Football. Hit that sub button and join us so you don't miss out. We'll be live plenty early with everything going on around the Dallas Cowboys. Safeties. I honestly don't know what to expect. I'm sure we'll get details around the time this video officially goes out here on the channel. Malik Hooker's on IR, but has returned to practice, and you kind of need him out there right now because you are banged up as all get out. Donovan Wilson is banged up. I think we'll be back this week. We'll see about Elijah Clark. Wanye Thomas going to miss 4 games. They are, if it's not Malik Hooker, it might be a Julius Wood practice squad call-up week, which, I mean, that's how dire these straits are, folks. Overall, I want you guys to rate the Cowboys' updated roster after all their different moves. 1 to 99, just like the Madden ratings are. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Quick notes on special teams. It's the same as it's ever been. Brandon Aubrey, Brian Anger, Trent Sig, still waiting on that big-time Kevontae Turpin explosive play. It'll happen at some point, I'm sure. If he gets banged up, it's like Jalen Tolbert, Jaydon Blue, maybe some Ryan Flanoy. It's kind of thin beyond Turpin if he is not your main return man. Who we got on Monday Night Football? C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Shout out to Rick, 69.69. I love it. Get your votes in. Who you got? C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. What a great question this is. From All Is Well, who do we root for this week between the Lions and the Eagles? I'm going to go plug in the playoff sim here. That's a great question. Because the Eagles are in your division, and it's a slightly, on one hand, it's an easier path if that happens. But they're also closer to you in the playoff hunt. Maybe you are better off going with the Eagles. I'm gonna update the sim here. Hold on. Interesting. I'm plugging in like the Cowboys odds to make the playoffs based on who wins that game. So Cowboys win no matter what. It is a jump to 10-ish% if they beat the Raiders. It was 7 on the NY Times playoff sim. Eagles win. It's at still about 10%. Lions win. It's slightly down to 9%. So I guess I think that's because of the fact that the Lions are closer to the Cowboys in the wild card standings, but I do think it's really hard to catch the Lions or anybody else. You do play them. Their schedule isn't the easiest down the stretch. I think at that point it's a 1% difference. Like, let's just cheer for them for the meteor. Let's just go the way of the dinosaurs. Honestly, I hadn't even thought about that until today. It probably isn't drastically different because you need to either just like win all your games or have a lot of help from one of those two teams, and you play each of them once. So it's a great question, man. I mean, if the Lions win and then you beat Philadelphia, you're only like 2 games back. I would wonder if, because you've already lost games against the Cardinals and Panthers and Bears, tiebreaker-wise, I would wonder if you actually don't play the odds and you go Philadelphia to lose. That way you can like get ground caught up on them and you beat them back to back. That's a really good question. I had not thought about that. I even mentioned like, oh, what a great game. So we get Lions, Eagles, and Rams, Seahawks, and like forgot about the Cowboys back there. It's a great point there all as well. Who we got? C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Final answer is Lions. Cheer for the Lions to give yourself a slightly more short-term controlled path to the division, knowing you will need help no matter what. And frankly, the Lions probably end up as the 5 seed anyway, or I guess it's the 6 seed. Yeah, oh boy. You're not, again, there's a huge difference. Everyone says NFC's wide open. Yeah, the top 6 teams. You're not one of the top 6 teams. That's the issue. All right, C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders. We'll be live for this game on Monday Night Football. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. C for the Cowboys, R for the Raiders.